So the internet said my most recent Solana article was amazing, and they also said that it was too long and I should have just made a video, which deeply hurt my feelings. So with that in mind, here is QuickNode Solana update for September 2025. We're going to work our way up the stack. To give you an idea of how Solana is arranged, at the very base level you have infrastructure. These are physical devices, servers and cabinets, network switches, and the fiber that connects them. On top of that, you have validator software like Agave, Jito, and FireDancer. These are software implementations of the Solana protocol that work together to create the giant computer that spans the whole world we know as a Solana mainnet. On top of that, you have the infrastructure providers. These run the RPCs that you use to connect to the blockchain. So Solana Foundation have a bunch of free public RPCs. QuickNode provide RPCs, and there are other RPC providers out there, believe it or not. So that's the infrastructure covered. On top of that, you have the programs that run on this big global computer. They're called smart contracts in older blockchains. Now, I'm going to divide them into three categories. This is a little bit arbitrary, but it's how I think of things. You have the programs that come as part of the Solana program library. This includes really popular things like the token program, token extensions, associated token account, all the basic things that you would use on Solana. Separately, you have libraries, i.e. reusable programs that are created by other people in the ecosystem. So these provide things like multi-sig services like squads, oracles like Pyth and Switchboard, schedulers like Tuk and more. And finally, you have single-purpose programs. These are programs that probably call libraries from the other two categories, and they're things like betting markets, exchanges, borrow-lend platforms, that kind of things. For end users, the way they access these blockchain applications is via apps. So these are either apps on their phone or in their web browser. So this represents pretty much all of Solana, and what we're going to do here is start our way at the bottom, because what you'll see is that the innovations in each level underneath enable what's on top. I'm going to start at the bottom, which is network infrastructure. And the first thing I want to talk about is that nearly 15% of Solana mainnet is now running on dedicated fiber through DoubleZero. So DoubleZero connects organizations that have fiber with organizations running blockchain validators, and it allows the organizations providing the fiber to share in the rewards from the blockchain validators. The blockchain validators in exchange get access to really deterministic low latency because there's no one else sharing their connections to other validators on that network. By being faster, they really increase the competition here for other validators and make the entire network faster, which benefits everybody. Next thing I want to talk about is validator software. This is the software that takes transactions off the network and turns them into blocks. Solana has historically had only one validator. That's the Solana Labs validator that's now called Agave. There's a danger with that, which is that a bug in Agave could actually bring down all of mainnet. More recently, another validator called FireDancer has started to appear on mainnet. Now, FireDancer has had a lot of hype recently. Way back at Solana Breakpoint, it passed 1 million transactions per second in a synthetic benchmark. What you may not realize is that Agave recently has also passed 1.1 million transactions in its own synthetic benchmark. What does this mean for Solana? It means that both validators have the capacity to meet the demand for the foreseeable future. Also in Agave news, the Jito fork of Agave has some new technology called Block Assembly Marketplace. It's a way to run transactions in a trusted execution environment and turn them into blocks, and it prevents backrunning, front running, sandwich attacks, all that kind of stuff, i.e. your transactions come in, no one can see them until they're actually turned into blocks, which is great for anyone doing DeFi. They want to be able to make trades and have them execute without somebody else watching what they're doing and putting their own trades in straight before, straight after, or on either side. So that's Agave. Let's talk about FireDancer. Now, FireDancer already has 15.4% of Solana mainnet. The real challenge for FireDancer right now, it has the speed. It needs to get rid of the old parts of Agave that it still uses. So FireDancer has new code for networking, signature verification, and block production. It's still using bits of Agave for things like consensus. So over the next few months, that's expected to reduce and FireDancer becomes a completely original code base, meaning that it will be unaffected if there's a bug in Agave. There are other validators out there as well. There's actually maybe 4 or 5 of them, but Agave and FireDancer are really the only ones that are actually used in Solana mainnet, along with Jito's fork of Agave. Other news on Solana mainnet, or really non-news, is that it has 100% uptime for the last year. In fact, the last outage on mainnet was in the early part of 2024. We're probably waiting for the rest of crypto Twitter to catch up with this, but Solana is the most reliable chain right now. Some other mainnet news is there was recently a vote to change how blocks are distributed between validators. It's moving from an old algorithm called Turbine to a new one called Alpenglow. What does it actually give people that use Solana? Really simple, 150 millisecond transaction times. If you're not sure how much 150 millisecond transaction times, that slide was 150 milliseconds. So this is amazing. I love the idea that I can actually have a blockchain transaction confirmed faster than that awkward wait when you tap a Visa card. This is super cool. It's coming early next year. It's just been approved to be part of mainnet. So that's validator software. Let's go one level up and look at RPC. So QuickNode is a Solana RPC provider, and we've actually got some good news of our own here. A few months back, QuickNode took a look at our Solana performance and we realized there's a couple of things we wanted to improve. Any situation where a competitor was faster than we were, any areas of the world where we needed more machines and more data centers. And since then, we've been doing a big effort to really make sure that QuickNode is ahead of all our competitors in the Solana space. You'll actually see this even on QuickNode.com. Like the default blockchain is Solana. There's Sol logos everywhere when it wants to demonstrate some tokens moving. But it's actually a reflection of the engineering that's been going on in the background. There's been a bunch of rack space purchase. There's been a bunch of fiber purchase. And there's a lot of hard work from our engineering team making sure that QuickNode is the best at every data center all over the world. So there's actually a live benchmark that you can see at quicknode.com/quickly/Solana that has live running RPC connections to QuickNode and all of our competitors, where you can see this performance for yourself. We've also been beating competitors on their dashboards as well, so you can go check those out too. So that's Solana infrastructure. The next level above that are the programs that run on it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Solana program library. Particularly, I want to talk about the token extensions program because we're about a couple of years into Solana having this new program that allows a bunch of extra features. And I want to find out if Solana is actually using those or not, and what extensions are actually being used. So there's actually a really good example of token extensions in use recently, which is that Solana has become the most popular blockchain for trading stocks. And you might think, what's that got to do with token extensions? So if you actually have a look at any of these stocks in Solana Explorer, you'll see there's a bunch of extensions actually turned on. So for compliance, you have things like permanent delegate, freeze authority, default account state, transfer hooks. If you turn out to be North Korea, they can stop you from owning NVIDIA stock. Major event handling for things like stock splits or corporate actions, that's handled using scaled UI and pausable. There's branding and tickers provided by the token metadata program. You no longer need an extra account just to put some metadata on your tokens. You can also see that confidential transfers, which is sometimes called confidential balances, is turned on as well. That really lacks a lot of client support right now. There's no Solflare, Phantom, or Squads that's going to support confidential transfers out of the box. Additionally, confidential transfers only encrypts the amount being transferred. It doesn't stop anyone from knowing that person A sent a particular token to person B. There's a lot more interesting tech in terms of privacy on Solana coming really soon. And we're going to be talking about that on this channel in the next couple of weeks. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button and the bell, you probably should. And with that, I will move on. Back on the topic of token extensions, two newer stablecoins, both of which use token extensions, have now become the third and fourth most popular stablecoins on Solana. If you look at either of them, you'll see a bunch of extensions turned on. And there's something in particular that both of them do, which I think is really interesting, which is there is a one-to-one match of the stablecoin to the US dollars you will have in your bank account. So if you have $1,000 of PyUSD, you will get $1,000 in your bank account. Paxos in both cases is providing the off-ramp services, and there's no fees, there's no anything else like that. You just have the stablecoin and you move it into your bank account, and there's no changing of balances or losing a little bit off the side. I think the era of old style off-ramps is really going. Do I use PyUSD for everything? No. But if I have a digital asset and I want the value of it in my bank account, I'll swap it to PyUSD on Jupiter and then send it through PayPal to my bank account and receive the full value of that digital asset in my bank account, which I think is great. If you're still using off-ramps, you should stop, do this instead. So token extensions are taking over everything. Let's talk about other programs that your programs call to do a lot of their tasks. So probably the most interesting stuff that's happened in the last week is around oracles. Oracles are on fire right now. So just in the last few days, the US government is now publishing economic data via Pyth. So the Department of Commerce is officially providing feeds of the statistics they publish that connect out to blockchains, including Solana, via the Pyth network. Separately, Pyth's competitor Switchboard has announced incredibly performant Oracle updates. So if you have a program that needs to get prices for something or some other type of off-chain data, you can now get those via Switchboard, and they say it's about 1,000 times more performant than their competitors, which is amazing. Low compute usage means your on-chain programs can do more in their instruction handlers, which means you can build bigger and more interesting programs. Separately from Switchboard, there's also Doppler, which is an experimental Oracle program, which is less than half the compute usage of Switchboard. So all kinds of things happening in the Oracle space. It's a fun time. So that's it for ecosystem libraries. Let's talk about actual single-purpose programs. Things like decentralized exchanges, betting platforms, borrow-lend platforms, and all the DeFi that's happening on Solana. Are people making money? And the answer is yes, they are. App revenue is at an all-time high. That's more than any other blockchain. Additionally, Solana has the most new developers last year, which makes sense because it has the most revenue. So that's it for on-chain programs. So let's talk about the actual mobile and web apps that people use to interact with them. Now, when I say crypto applications, you might be thinking of opening up a wallet app on your phone and going to the Browse tab and then interacting with something that way, or opening something up on a desktop that connects to a Chrome extension and you do things that way. I think that's on the way out. So I want to talk about a series of traits that I've noticed in all the good crypto apps I've seen recently. And the first is that they're useful. And I don't mean useful to crypto people. I mean useful to people that have a bank account or exercise or like to invest. The second thing is that they're explainable without referring to crypto. If you need to mention crypto or blockchain or Web3, you have failed. Not a single one of these needs anyone to know what any of those are to be able to understand why they want it. The next thing is traditional sign-in. No writing down 24 words on a piece of paper, sticking that in an envelope and hiding that in your house and then hoping that someone else doesn't find it or you don't lose it. They securely allow people to log in and store digital assets without needing to do any of the setup of old school crypto wallets. The next thing is they're stablecoin focused. People that want to know the value of anything want to know in US dollars. They don't know and they don't care about the native token of any blockchain. The final thing is these apps are available in the App Store where people actually get apps. So I call this stablecoin in mobile. You can also call this S&M for short. The first one I want to talk about is Lulo. Lulo is a savings account. It just gives you 8-point-something% interest rather than the 4% your bank offers. It has insurance, so if something goes horribly wrong, you still keep your money. And there's not really that much more you need to know. You don't need a Solana wallet or anything else. You don't need to know about weird tokens. It's all done in US dollars. It just grows your money for you. It's really simple. It's really beautiful. They've been working on it a couple of years and it's been consistently improving. I'm actually getting married in October, and for most of the last year, I actually used Lulo to hold a bunch of US dollars, grow it for me over time, and then pay for things out of that account. Again, did it using PayPal, as I mentioned before, because I'm not paying off-ramp fees. The next step I want to talk about is Pyra. Pyra embodies a spending concept from high net worth individuals, which is if you have a bunch of assets that are increasing in value, rather than selling them to pay for living expenses, you get a loan against the value of those assets. You save a bunch on capital gains, you still get all the increases in the value of that underlying asset. Using Pyra is great. Once your assets are in the platform, you just have a card that you can use in Apple Pay. You go and buy something, Pyra takes that tiny loan of just what you need against those assets. It's incredibly convenient. I am an investor in Pyra, but that's because I think it's awesome. Or apps. AmpPay is a day-to-day card you can use to buy anything anywhere connected to a high-yield savings account that does more than what your bank does. Next up I want to talk about is Decaf. It's a really common way for people to hold US dollars in places where the local currency is unstable. So in some parts of the world, if you get paid on Friday, your money might not be worth the same when you do your grocery shopping on Wednesday. Decaf handles that. It's hugely popular in Nigeria and a bunch of other countries, and it's a really smart team. Next up is Moonwalk. Moonwalk is an app where you walk and you have a streak. You're clothed, you're not streaking, you walk every day, and that's the... Anyway, the point is that you need to walk every day, and if you don't walk every day, rewards are actually given to the people who do walk every day. So it's a competitive thing between you and your friends about who can get their steps in every day and not break their streak. Nobody's naked. The final thing I want to talk about is local pay. Now, lots of people talk about enabling crypto payments for a handful of restaurants in some particular city. Local Pay enables native crypto payments for entire countries at once. They started with all of Vietnam, next they're doing all of Indonesia, and there's more countries on the way. What they've done is connect the QR code payment system used throughout Southeast Asia to Solana. So if I was in Vietnam, I could go anywhere in the country, buy anything I like, probably a Vietnamese iced coffee. The retailer gets the local currency. I just pay in US dollars and I never need to think about currency conversion. I honestly think these apps represent not the future, but the present of crypto apps. If you're making some new app, it needs to be useful. You need to be able to explain what it is without referring to crypto. You need people to be able to sign in normally without needing passphrases and wallets and all the stress involved in that. You need to let people just use US dollars to work out how much something is worth, and it needs to be in the App Store. So that was it. That's everything that's happening in Solana right now, from the fiber all the way up to your phone. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Tell me what you think. I'll be there in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.